Welcome all to the HOJ-Cast. This is episode number 25. Brief programming notes. Probably am not going to get to do a HOJ-Cast next week. So this is probably going to be the one that will have to tide us all over for the next 2 weeks. This and there will be a crossover recorded later tonight that will get published. It's live, and then but if you miss it live, then it'll get published tomorrow, Saturday. But it's funny that the crossover Friday night, late night live, it made a lot that scheduling made a lot of sense for Josh and I and everybody during the pandemic, and then we just stuck with it. But now I think we used to get a lot more people who would come on live because it was, what else was there to do? We were all stuck at home. And now it's just we kept the time. It's an institution. It's been going at that time for over 5 years. But I don't know. I'm sure people maybe feel there's a better time we could do it live so they could listen live. But the replay gets published anyway. Enough about that. Let's just jump into the topics. I want to try and knock these out. I'm on a little bit of limited time today, so I'll try to be as expeditious as possible. I've sort of come into this structure of first something philosophical, then a collecting application from my collecting adventures of late, then some market talk, and then I'm actually going to put some sports talk, some NBA talk at the very end. So let's see how that goes. All right. So first of all, the philosophical section is going to be much briefer this time. There's actually kind of two questions. One bleeds into the collecting application, but the first is just purely philosophical, which is, I posed this question to Twitter. I'll pose it to you as my audience. I won't dwell on it for too long, but what is the most misunderstood card in your collection? Or what is the most underrated card in your collection, in your opinion? And don't just tell me the card, also tell me why. You don't need to do this. You can enjoy this exercise in your own mind and not share it with anybody, or feel free to put a comment. Some of the Twitter responses I got taught me quite a bit about different types of cards, and the only reason I'm not sharing them is just because I haven't vetted the information that was shared about each of those cards to make sure that it's completely correct. So I don't want to share something that might be slightly incorrect, or I'm missing a nuance, but anyway, yeah, that's the question that I pose, but the point of the exercise is twofold. Number one, it's to shed some light for yourself or for others on a card in your collection that you really like, that other people just are misunderstanding or just don't see the same way as you see it. And that can add a level of enjoyment to our own cards. Certainly can for me. But then the other point is to provide the explanation and to go through the reasoning process and to actually explain why this card is misunderstood. And that can be much more difficult than it sounds. It really requires, in order to truly properly explain why a card is misunderstood or underrated, I need to not only understand my own card, but I need to understand all of the other cards too. Because the concept of being misunderstood or underrated is a relative concept. It's misunderstood relative to some other card that's better understood, or it's underrated relative to some other card that's overrated or properly rated. So coming through with the explanation can really challenge us, and it can almost be a measurement, an indicator of the health of our understanding of the offering of cards that exists, and perhaps our understanding of the market and our understanding of how other people see things. So in that way, a very simple question can unravel into something much deeper. So that's the idea. What is the most misunderstood or underrated card in your collection? And the touch point here to my collecting experiences of late is that I think my Michael Jordan 1 of 1 endeavor is largely focusing on cards that I find to be misunderstood or underrated or just under the radar. And I've produced podcast after podcast delving into that very topic and increasing the understanding of what they are, both for myself and for anybody who's interested in sort of just hearing the fruits of research into cards that I happen to enjoy. And one of the great things about research, especially in cards, is that there are several things that make us like our own cards more. One is just owning them. I own it, and the longer I own it for, the more I like it. But the other is learning more about a card can increase the desirability of the card. Just learning more and more about it, and the card takes on more and more significance and more meaning the more we learn about it. And that can go the other way too. Sometimes we can learn more about a card and come to understand that it really isn't that special. But I think most of the time it actually works the other way. All right. Collecting application, phase 2 of this episode. So this episode is going to talk about some commemorative sets and do a bit of an exploration of what it means for a card to be commemorative, and then give examples. This discussion starts with a bigger picture idea. So these episodes get into the philosophy of collecting, and obviously these philosophical approaches are directly applicable to collecting, but they also are transferable to other domains. And a lot of the work that gets done in collecting is work of classification, and that is, could easily just be kept siloed in the realm of collecting. Just, we classify things because that helps us figure out what these cards are. It helps us organize them, helps us understand how they relate to each other, provides a lot of utility within the space of collecting. But classification or the process of building a taxonomy, this is a skill or a practice or a procedure that extends well beyond card collecting. Card collecting is one of the lower applications, of course, of classification or creating taxonomies. But instead, that the science of classifying is very important to biology. It's important to lots of fields. It's important to library science, and organizing, classifying things. And it becomes apparent when we start looking into other domains that that classification actually is very powerful. It's very powerful. It determines all sorts of things, like how do we classify who's a resident of one state versus a resident of a different state? There's a geographical component to that, but sometimes it can be more complex than that. Or, to bring a more polarizing topic to the table, not to offer an opinion on it and not to turn this into something of polarizing topics, but the classification of gender. How many genders exist? What is the spectrum? How do the genders fit into each of those terms? Are there 2? Are there 500? Those are that sounds very funny, but and it there is a level of amusement there, but also it is a question of classification about how are we defining things, and then what boxes do we put them into once we've figured out what all the boxes are, and then do we need to build more boxes to fit more things, or how many boxes are acceptable, or should we have fewer? Or buckets, conceptual buckets that we put things into. So the science of classification has applications that are huge outside of the domain of card collecting. They're huge in science, they're political, they're sociological, they're socioeconomical, they're geographical. Classification is a very important conceptual tool. And we do it in the hobby in sort of a low stakes, carefree way. But I can't help but notice, as I think more and more about classification, think more and more about cataloging things, that it actually has all of these other overlaps with other fields and other areas of knowledge. And the other thing that's interesting too, and this is just a brief aside, and I'll say it and then I'll move on. But there was a quote by one of the former CEOs or founders of Google or something, and he was giving an interview. This is a few months ago, and he basically said, "Look, I used to advise young students to go into biology and the sciences, and I felt like those are the best fields. These are the fields where breakthroughs are going to happen at the technological level, at the health level." I mean, he would advise people to go into biology. And then he said, but artificial intelligence and the arrival of that is changing everything. AI has caused me to now advise young people to do whatever you like and just get really, really good at it. You don't need to sort of suffer through biology if you don't like it anymore. Now you can just focus on whatever it is that you like to do, and just focus on that, and put your intellectual development into whatever field you're excited about. If it's video games, if it's card collecting, he didn't say card collecting, but the logic extends to it, and just whatever you're passionate about that's going to keep you fired up and working really, really hard at something. Keep working at that, because AI is going to allow you to transfer your thinking processes, the sort of the framework of your mind. It's going to allow you to transfer it into other domains. So, and he noted that a lot of breakthroughs that have happened over history have come from one person who was really, really good at one domain, jumping over into a different domain and saying, hey, what if we looked at this a little bit differently? This is how I think about things in my domain. What if we looked at things a little bit differently in your domain? What would happen? And his point is that AI is going to let you not have to study biology, but when you have a question about biology, that you can sync up with a large language model, and you can ask it a million questions, and you can have it help you sort of create metaphors and tools for understanding. And that very quickly you can leverage the body of knowledge that AI has, and you can take things that you haven't specifically studied in depth, but you can immediately access a deep knowledge of them. And that the most important thing for you to develop is your thinking capacities. Just sharpen your mind, make your mind as sharp as absolutely possible. So that the hope is that if you just sharpen your mind and pursue the thing that you're most excited about and work at and develop it, that the cognitive development that will ensue there will, through the enhancement of AI and the resources that AI offers, it will allow you to sort of transfer your cognitive power into other domains much more seamlessly without having to drudge through years and years of studying and memorization and so on and so forth. And that's a pretty exciting topic. It's ambitious. I don't know if it's entirely accurate or if that's how things will ultimately end up working out. But it sheds a light on how even skills that we're developing as collectors that can seem like the skill of classification, the skills of cataloging, that can seem like they're really just confined to this little area of collecting cards, but it's really not. It's a skill set that's highly transferable. And once you have that skill set and the cognitive ability, and then you marry it with something like AI, where there's no such thing as asking AI a stupid question. AI doesn't care. It will, in a public setting or in a classroom or around an expert, I can feel very stupid if I ask something simple, about biology or something. But AI, I can just ask it a million questions, and there's no need to be embarrassed or ashamed. That's a pointless thing to feel in the context of an AI. It's just a language model there to augment or supplement your mind with information. So, brief aside there, sort of on classification, and sort of that as we're doing classification and other skills that are developed as collectors as well, that they actually have these other applications potentially, and that AI is going to help those applications in the future, next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So, continue. That's my own sort of encouragement to myself, to others. Continue developing our cognitive abilities, because their application may sooner than it seems be extended more easily than ever before. So that's my riff on classification, and that ends sort of my philosophizing for this episode. And now I'll start applying it a little bit. So here's a form of classification that exists in the hobby, but it's never really quite been completely drilled down. But it's the idea of a commemorative card. A commemorative card. Now, what is commemoration? What is a commemorative card? And sort of the quick dictionary definition is something like memorializing a person or an event, or commemorating a person or an event. There, we're using the word in its own definition, which we try to avoid. But memorializing, celebrating. And in the context of cards, a commemorative card is sort of a card that memorializes or celebrates or commemorates something about a player, their career, an accomplishment that they had. The Football Card Podcast recently discussed a commemorative LaDainian Tomlinson 30 card set, where it took his Topps Chrome base Superfractor 1 of 1 from a season. It was the season that came after he had his MVP year. And so they commemorated his MVP year by creating 30 more editions of his Topps Chrome Superfractor one of one, and so they made 30 more one of ones, and they kept the image the same, they kept the superfractor pattern the same, they kept the card design the same. They just added TD1, TD2, all the way to 30. So 30 one of ones to commemorate his 30 touchdown season. So there's an example of a commemorative concept, but applied on the scale of LaDainian Tomlinson. And to me, earning the status of deserving a commemorative set is significant. I think very, very, very few athletes in the sports card hobby do something that merits the creation of a commemorative set. Players who get commemorative sets are multi-time champions or MVPs, or people who have just done something that is so exceptional that they get a whole set or a whole a set or a subset of cards that end up getting dedicated to their honor. So there's something when a commemorative set is made, it signifies something important, and the manufacturer sort of is thinking to themselves, like, this player is popular enough, or the achievement is significant enough, that it's going to help us sell product if we commemorate what they did. It's going to make more people want to buy this, and that's powerful. It's not so often that the manufacturers sort of give us fairly direct evidence of things that they feel are worth that will bring in more customers merely by virtue of commemorating it. So being worthy of commemorating is significant, I think. And so we're exploring what commemorating means. I just sort of gave that little LT example, and it's just a different way sort of to understand commemorative is what isn't commemorative. So the other type of card, a non-commemorative card, is a card that is contemporaneous. That's documenting something as it's happening or shortly after it happens. And there's the idea of, like, the core, most traditional concept of a base set of sports cards is this notion, however historically accurate, that a base set card is a card that has it's a set, and it features cards from players of every team in that professional league, and each of the cards has the action shot of the player on the front, and the backside has statistics from that player's most recent season, and maybe a caption or something too. And not all cards conform to that exactly, but it's historically or today, but it's the general idea of a base set, and each team has players in that set, and that card of those players is their base set card. It's the core card offered of that player in that particular product. And the fact that it documents all the different teams and documents players from all the different teams, and that it's issued season by season, that card is the core piece that represents that player for that season for that product. And then there can be things built on top of it. There can be subsets, checklist cards, insert sets, commemorative sets. And those categories can overlap in some ways. Sometimes, like, you can have a commemorative insert set, you can have a non-commemorative insert set, you can have a commemorative subset, you can have a non-commemorative subset, you can even have let's not, that's just to illustrate sort of how it can overlap. But the idea there is that a non-commemorative card is a contemporaneous card, a card that sort of, like, to give a clean, super clear, crisp example, a non-commemorative card or a contemporaneous card would be, Michael Jordan's 1997-98 Ultra base set card. That's going to be a card that has an image of Jordan on the front, belongs to Ultra's base set, and on the backside it should have some statistics, maybe a caption, something like that. I mean, that's the general idea. And so that 1997-98 Ultra base set, it will have cards from players of every different team. And there'll be some Bulls, there'll be some Milwaukee Bucks, there will be some Houston Rockets, and that's the base set. Then that's Jordan's card in that base set, that core base set. What's also interesting about 1997-98 Ultra is that there also is a subset, the 98 Greats subset. And then, we would need to scrutinize it and see if that subset is considered, should it meet the definition of commemorative, or is it contemporaneous, or is there a third category that we need? I mean, this is the nature of classification. How many buckets do we need here? And I'm not sure how many buckets we need. And I'm not 100% confident in what commemorative means and what a commemorative card is and isn't. I think that's not something that's going to get definitively solved today. It's a problem that will continue to get worked through. But I think I've sort of introduced the idea of commemorative, that sort of the wheels are spinning. We can sort of think of what commemorative is, even if we have slightly different understandings of what it means, or we apply it slightly differently, that nonetheless we've created a foundation upon which we can discuss what commemorative means. And having done that, now I want to talk about some well-known commemorative sets from the 90s of Michael Jordan. So there are, to be clear, there's at least two different types of commemorative sets for Michael Jordan. There are sets that are commemorative in nature that feature Michael Jordan and other players. And those are more of a gray area. There's sort of an argument to be made that inserts almost always are commemorative, even if, it's 20 different players in that insert set. But so that's a bit of a gray area. Where it's really clean, where you get the clean commemorative concept is something like this. So I have on the screen a box from the Michael Jordan Rare Air set, and I'm pretty sure that whole set is only Michael Jordan cards. My brother and I used to have that box set, that Michael Jordan Rare Air set, and I always liked this card. And this is card number 1 from that Rare Air set. And this is apparently a gold hologram parallel. I don't know a ton about what that is. But here we have card number 1 from the Rare Air Michael Jordan box set. And so those were well known. And you can see that those are clearly commemorative. They are memorializing Michael Jordan, the athlete, the celebrity, the figure in pop culture. And there was a whole box set dedicated to it. Of course, that box set didn't have one of ones. This was from 1994-ish, I suppose. And that predates serial numbered one of ones in basketball by several years. Another well-known example are the He's Back cards. These are reprints where Upper Deck went back and reprinted different cards from Michael Jordan's career, but then added here the little they printed this He's Back March 19th 1995 there to sort of celebrate the return of Michael Jordan. So they're reprints. They form those, there's like 9 of them or something, and they form an insert set, and they are commemorating the different portions of Michael Jordan's career by reprinting these various cards that came from his career and then tying them all together with the He's Back stamp. And then there is the Mr. June insert set from 1993 Upper Deck, 1993-94 Upper Deck. Here is card number MJ7 from the Mr. June commemorative set, commemorating his 55-point game. Looks like that he's going up over Tom Chambers. Tom Chambers famously has a dunk where he jumped over somebody, and now Jordan is returning the favor, jumping over Tom Chambers. And so there's another. So, and these are pretty well-known examples for people who collected cards or have nostalgia for the early 90s. That these are commemorative sets, and they're well-known. They're popular among Michael Jordan collectors. And so that's going to wrap up, I think, everything I want to sort of say and illustrate about commemorative at this time. And just to say that I do think sort of the idea of what is commemorative is still somewhat of an open question. And what people consider commemorative is an even more open question. So sort of like my definition, I'm still sort of refining it and thinking about it. Although I think there are clear commemorative examples. I think Rare Air is like clearly commemorative, for example. And there are some that are a little bit cloudier to figure out. But I did that bit on that riff on commemorative, and then we're going to figure out why very shortly. But before we do figure out why, or sort of as a prelude or a segue into why, once again, this is an occasion to recap my trade with Stan, because I've sort of walked through many of the parts, but not all of them so far. So to recap here, we've done this card already, the 1997-98 Power Deck 1/1 Michael Jordan card. We talked about that one at length. That's a very special card. That was the haul of the trade. That's the first Upper Deck 1/1 card ever made of any player from any set in any sport. It's also Michael Jordan's only one-of-one insert from his Bulls playing days. So just a magnificent story that card tells. Then as we move here, we also have, I talked about these in a previous episode. These are the two higher power one-of-ones of Michael Jordan from 1999-2000 Upper Deck. These are a commemorative insert set. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we talked about those. So that's 3 of the 7 cards from the trade have been discussed. Then here, if you follow me to the bottom right, the most recent episode talks about this card that I also got from Stan. This comes from the 1999-2000 Master Collection. There was one insert set within that product that had one-of-ones, and it is these one-of-a-kinds. And so we talked about that in great length. But these are the first and the only one-of-ones from the first high-end basketball product. And sort of we talk about how Master Collection kind of is a forebearer to I don't know if that's a word. I think it is. It came before and sort of passed the baton to Exquisite. And then today we're going to talk about one of these 2 cards in depth. We're going to talk about both. And these are the Quantum Gold one-of-ones, a very important insert set in my view of Michael Jordan. This is the one in particular that we're going to talk about is Quantum Gold 20. And then we haven't talked about this yet, this checklist, this gold checklist one-of-one. Checklist one-of-ones, well, first of all, checklists of Michael Jordan in general are a fascinating topic. Some of his coolest cards, in my view, are checklists from the 90s, and then his checklist one-of-ones first started showing up in 1998-99 Upper Deck. And so that is one of his 4 checklists from the first ever checklist one-of-one Michael Jordan, but we're not there yet. We'll talk about the checklist later. But so we have covered the power deck, the higher power cards, the 2 of them, and the one-of-a-kinds. And now we're going to talk about one of the 2 quantum golds. And this will I won't rehash quantum gold content in the future, but I may, maybe I'll talk more about the quantum gold number 4 at a different time. But that's the recap there of that trade and sort of where we are. And so after we discuss the quantum golds here, then there'll just be one card left to discuss, which is the checklist. And I'm looking forward to that quite a bit because there's a lot of fun stuff to share about that. But we're not there yet. We'll get there. And so then the other thing I wanted to do is just sort of locate each of these trade pieces, if they do exist, on the Michael Jordan 90s one-of-one checklist. Remember, Michael Jordan has 72 one-of-ones from the 90s. And to be precise, what is meant here is these are Michael Jordan only, not Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen cards. These are Michael Jordan only cards. These are cards serial numbered 1-of-1. So he also has the printing plates. He actually appears on 8 solo and 4 multiplayer printing plates from the 90s, but those cards don't have serial numbers on them. They are print runs of 1, but they're not serial numbered 1-of-1. And then the other category that gets an honorable mention but doesn't quite make the list of 72 is the 1999-2000, because those are not purely 90s cards. They do have 99 in their year, but the vast majority of that season actually took place in the year 2000. And the way that decades in the NBA are cataloged is that 1989-90 through 98-99, that 10-year sequence is the decade of the 90s. And so that's one way to look at it. Or another way to look at it is just 99-2000 is half 90s, half 2000s. It's right there in the hyphenated season of 1999-2000. Okay, so let's look at this checklist here, because I think that this checklist provides a very logical and structured and clean way to identify Michael Jordan's earliest one-of-ones. And given that specific definition, it must be serial numbered 1-of-1, it must be a solo Michael Jordan card, and it must be wholly of the 90s. And that creates a really compact checklist of 72 cards. And these 72 cards are just they are the object of my fascination. And so from the Stanley trade, we talked about the power deck. That you can see that exists right here. It's in the second row, first column. So that's one of the 72 cards from this checklist was obtained in that Stanley trade. And then the checklist, which we haven't gotten into yet, but that checklist is in fact one of the 72. There's the love the gold 1-of-1 stamp. There it is. And so that checklist meets all criteria, and it is one of the 72 cards. It's down here. It's in the bottom row, second column from the right. So that's two cards from the 72 were acquired in the trade. And then actually two more also live on this checklist. So one of them, which we're not going to discuss today, is quantum number 4. That can be found on the checklist right here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 rows down in the furthest right column. Is that one of one quantum? And then the card that is the subject of today. So the fourth of the 72 cards, which was acquired. This is quantum gold number 20. That's the card we're going to talk about today. That's located here, third row from the bottom, third column from the right there. So this trade with Stan obviously was incredibly exciting to me because 4 of Michael Jordan's 72 first one of ones, right? So like his 90s one of ones or his first one of ones, 4 of the 72 came home in this trade, which was extremely fun, right? Okay, so that's where we are in recapping the trade. And let's one question here as we continue. So part of creating this classification system, creating this checklist, was one thing I wanted to do was give a name to every card on it. And so that is on the index too, and it's much more easier to read when the index is like big and printed and hung on a wall, which I've done. But it's a little bit harder to read on a computer screen. So I also have this research document that's available publicly too. And you can sort of see that I went through. I tried to name every card in that checklist, and then I took the 72 cards, which is easy to remember. Jordan's greatest season was the 72 win season with the Bulls, and it just so happens there's 72 of these 90s one of one Jordans, so that was nice. And then I broke them into 6 buckets, and they sort of naturally segmented into 6 buckets, which was nice because 6 titles, that's pretty easy to remember. And so I sort of walked through, and I literally gave each of the 72 cards a nickname. So the 4 Flair Showcase one of ones, they're just row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3. There's nothing really inventive there. That's sort of me crystallizing how I would like to refer to them. We have what I've called the Platinum Masterpiece and the 98 Greats and the Power Deck. So sort of and on, right? So I've given each of these cards a name, right? Like the second year Ultra one of one base at Jordan, I've called the Purple Masterpiece, as an example. So that was a little bit of artistic license on my side. Then there's also the second year of Jordan one of ones produced the Gem Masters, and we all know what that is. So that took that name. Something that I do think I named that I don't think I'd ever heard it used before. I named the Alphabet Golds, the Series 2 base at one of one Jordans, and then here's where I'm getting to. So I'm calling these the Quantum Golds, but I was wondering, do we like die cut gold better? So I went with Quantum Golds, but I wonder if die cut gold. But anyway, we'll that's just food for thoughts. I think I like quantum gold just fine. And the word quantum is prominently displayed. Well, maybe not prominently, but is displayed clearly on the card's design. So here I've pulled up an image of the card, and the word quantum appears right here. So quantum golds or die cut golds. Probably stick with quantum, but it's open. It's open for discussion. So all right, so let's dive in now to this particular card, and we're going to do the thing where I'm going to critique my social media post and see how we like it and what maybe could have been done better. I kept this post a bit shorter, and that was on purpose. That was partially because I just felt a little more dispassionate about posting it. I wasn't sometimes when I post a card, there's just this overwhelming rush of energy, and I just want to say 10 million things about the card, and that might actually be ultimately like make my post less interesting. Or sometimes I feel like this, where it's like, yeah, I've had this card for a little while now. I've sort of settled in with it. Not in a big rush to post it. I would like to post it. It will become the centerpiece of a podcast that's forthcoming. So, let me back up a little bit. Let me try to really think about how I want to craft this post. Let me just focus on one angle to explain this card, and let's sort of test run it and see how it goes. And that was more the approach here with this one. So here goes. Here is the caption I provided with this card. 1998-99 Upper Deck offered the first ever one-of-one commemorative MJ set. All right, so let me pause right there. So that's big, right? Because I've sort of been talking about commemorative, figuring out what commemorative means. I've showed examples of popular or well-known Michael Jordan iconic cards from the early and mid 90s. And now here I drop a bomb. The bomb is these quantum golds. 1998-99 Upper Deck offered the first ever one-of-one commemorative MJ sets. That's a big claim. And okay, so anyway, the quantum gold one-of-ones. There are 30 quantum gold one-of-ones of MJ, each with a unique action shot, card number, and caption. So I have 2 of the 30 here in my hand, just sort of showing the camera. So there are 30 total. All right, the post continues. Later commemorative one-of-one inserts, such as the 12 1999-2000 Final Floor autograph one-of-ones, are better known than the Quantum Gold one-of-ones, but the Quantum Gold one-of-ones came first. The Quantum Gold one-of-ones also have an unnumbered base version. Let me swipe to that particular slide in the carousel so I can, if you're watching on YouTube, you can follow along. All right, the Quantum Gold one-of-ones also have an unnumbered base version, a bronze numbered to 2300, and a silver numbered to 23. They were reprinted in Encore as well, which itself offered an unnumbered base version and an FX parallel numbered to 23. All 6 versions in total are pictured in a group shot in the carousel. And once again, those are there's 4 from Upper Deck Flagship. There's the base, the bronze out of 2300, the silver out of 23, and the gold one-of-one. And then there are the 2 from Encore. Upper Deck Encore was a separate product that also was released in 1998-99. And it reprinted cards, some cards from 1998-99 Upper Deck, and it reprinted 20 of the 30 quantums. It reprinted 20 of the 30. And it did not give them an additional one-of-one. It did give them a base version and an FX out of 23 version. And I must admit, the FX out of 23 version looks pretty cool. I've never seen one in hand, but they look cool. They very rarely sell. It was hard to track down an image of one, but I did find one. All right, continuing on. The card that is the subject of this post is the Quantum Gold number 20. Let me put a picture of that back up on the screen here. It possesses one of my favorite action shots of Michael Jordan, who can be seen mid-finger roll. And that is true. I just think this is a magnificent image of Jordan on a card. That was Stanley has, or at the time of the trade, he had 9 of the 30 quantum golds, and I believe he still has 7. He had the 2 that came to me, and then he kept 7. And the reason why I said I want this one is because I love the image of MJ. The card's borders are gold laced and die cut. A bold red one-of-one stamp appears near the upper left. The caption on the reverse pays homage to MJ's first of 10 scoring titles, which occurred during the 1986-87 season. The 30 quantum gold one-of-ones comprise nearly half of the checklist of MJ's 72 one-of-ones from the 90s. That checklist documents all of MJ's first one-of-ones, which appeared in 1997-98 and 1998-99, and it can be found at 90smj1of1s.com. That's just a reminder for anybody who wants to look at the index or wants to look at the research document. 90smj1of1s.com is a quick little website that I created that can do that, and many thanks to Frizzo Collects for the design and making this index look absolutely beautiful. He did an amazing job on that. All right, so there, the last paragraph is sort of talking about how these quantum golds, there's 30 of them, and there's only 72 one-of-ones of Michael Jordan from the 90s. That's total. That's the total number of cards. 72 different pieces of cardboard. It's not like there's copies of these or anything. There's just 72. There's 90 PMG Reds. There's 90 copies of the PMG Red alone, a different card that I own. There are 72 total one-of-ones of Michael Jordan from the 90s, period. And they're all on this index. So, I'm sort of quite excited about this category, as if you can't tell. And the thing that's interesting about that 30 of the 72 being quantum golds is that it sort of makes the quantum gold the most accessible, and still there's 30 of these, right? So it's still not, it's very difficult to track down, like, thinking of something from the 90s that has 30 copies, or thinking about the PMG Championship, which has 50 copies, and think about how difficult it is to track down that. Ultra modern collectors, it won't mean as much to them because they come from an era where many parallels are numbered very low to very low print runs. But from the 90s, something having a numbered print run of 50 was exceptionally rare. And thinking about how difficult it is to track down, say, a PMG Championship of Michael Jordan, which has 50, and then further shrink the C to just 30 of these quantum gold one of ones. But they're also each different cards, so that sort of they live in two. They have 1 foot in 2 worlds. 1 foot is in the world of, well, there's 30. There's, in a certain sense, a quantum gold is 1 of 30, but they're all different cards. They all have different action shots. They have different captions on the back. They have different card numbers. It's quantum gold 1, 2, 3, all the way through 30. So they're also true one of ones. So sort of, how do you, however you want to think about their rarity. But and then in a different way to think about their rarity, they belong to the 72 90s Michael Jordan one of ones. So sort of, even if you want to expand the scope as far as possible and say it's among these 72, still that's 72 is also the number of essential credentials future that exists for Michael Jordan. There are 72 of those. There are 72 one of ones of Michael Jordan in total, including all of the one of ones of him from the 90s. So I certainly see the quantum golds as unique one of ones. I don't really see them as out of 30s because they are all just completely different cards, and each of them has these different parallel versions, right? Like, so if we see them as sort of they're really 1 of 30, then sort of the silvers are really 1 out of 30 times 23, whatever was that, 690, I guess. So I just don't think most people see it that way. I think this is a unique card that has this unique version of itself, and this is the only one of it. All right, so that was the social media post, and I think it kept things pretty compact. This screen speaks to me quite a bit. I really like seeing the rainbow, the different versions of the card is pretty cool. I think it's a neat nuance that the Encore is only reprinted 20 of the 30. So if you do have a quantum gold that's number 21 through 30, it doesn't have Encore versions. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I think so let's see how some of the comments replied or what they gravitated to. My buddy Mark points out that he really likes the giant red one of one. That is a distinguishing feature of the quantum golds, is that their stamp is on the front of the card, and it's a big red one of one. I personally don't love that aesthetic as much maybe as others do. And but it's funny, it's amusing. Sort of he Mark is commenting genuinely, I'm sure, but also pointing out something fun or different. There's a lot of this when I posted this to social media, whether it was Facebook or Instagram, it got a lot of likes. It didn't get a lot of comments. Some other stuff has gotten more comments. The Power Deck got like 2-3 times as many comments, but this has racked up a lot of likes in a short amount of time. And I think the card just has nice eye appeal. I really think that the photo used and the sleek die cut design and the gold foil, that this is an easy card to just click like on without having to give it much thought. So are there any other comments here that there's several comments that sort of point out, like, that's a great photo, nice looking design. Yeah, that people just kind of they're enjoying the aesthetic of the card. So all right, there's the critique. So now what I want to talk about next is I want to continue on this path of commemorative Jordan 1-of-1s. Oh, and by the way, here I'm just looking at the research tab from 90s MJ 1-of-1s. If I were a collector sort of looking to get acquainted with collecting 90s Michael Jordan 1-of-1s, and I want to get one of these 72 before I do, I would study each of the quantum gold the 30 quantum golds, and I would find which one I think looks the coolest, or which one has a caption that commemorates a part of Jordan's career that I like the most. Because each of their captions on the back are unique, and they're documenting something different. So like we just went over 20. 20 talks about his 10 scoring titles over his career, and in particular focuses on the first one, which was the 86-87 season. But look, there's just a wide variety of pictures, and I'm sure the captions are interesting too. Like I like 19. That's like I tend to like the red jersey ones a lot. I think the red jersey looks nice, but you know, there's a lot of fun stuff to choose from here. And then, you know, you can go down the rabbit hole of finding other cards that use this photo or photo matching it to a game. I have not photo matched this shot yet to a game. But all right, so now what I want to do is I want to talk about every commemorative Michael Jordan 1-of-1 set from the NBA licensed era. So I haven't built out Michael Jordan's checklist after 2009-10 because that's when NBA licensed Michael Jordan cards ended. So I have documented in a spreadsheet every Michael Jordan 1-of-1 card up through 2009-10. And there are a few gaps. So like, for example, there's this etched in time 1-of-1 cards of Michael Jordan from 2004-05. It's not a Michael Jordan only set because there are Kobe etched in times and lots of other players too. But Jordan definitely has more than one etched in time, but I don't know how many more. I don't know if it's 5. I don't know if it's 20, but there are a number of different variations of his 1-of-1 etched in time. So that's like, for example, I don't know how many etched in time 1-of-1 Jordans there are. So, but my the rough total of Michael Jordan 1-of-1s through his entire NBA licensed era is somewhere around 550 to 600. And that spreadsheet also documents all of his multiplayer cards too. So those have their own section. I believe there's 101 1-of-1s of Jordan plus one or multiple other players. Those would include his dual logo mans and stuff like that. And then there are several hundred plates. And we're going to talk about plates. We're going to have plate content coming sometime in the somewhat near future here. We will get to the plates. But yeah, I have on that spreadsheet, there's a whole section for plates too. There's a few hundred plates. But the solo Michael Jordan serial numbered 1-of-1 cards, full stop, ever made with an NBA license, somewhere between 550 and 600. And so, you know, there's lots of different ways to zoom in on that group and to isolate things that we like. My first grand project after I made the whole list of 550 to 600 was, what are the first ones? That's what I want to know. What are the first ones? Let's start there. And so that created 90s MJ 1-of-1s because those are his first 1-of-1s. Those are his first 72 1-of-1s, full stop. So that was one way of me sort of zooming in further. Let's just look at the first ones. But now I'm going to show you a different way of zooming in on them. And that is going to be by zooming in on every commemorative 1-of-1 MJ set from the NBA licensed era. And there are 13 of them total. And so this is going to sort of shed some light on kind of the importance of the quantum gold too, being the first commemorative 1-of-1 set of MJs, the quantum gold. So sort of there are commemorative MJ sets like the Rare Air and the Mr. June that came before the quantum golds, but they weren't numbered 1-of-1. I'm pretty sure they didn't have any serial numbered issues. The first 1-of-1 commemorative set of MJ are the quantum golds. And it's pretty cool too that the first commemorative MJ set that's numbered 1-of-1 comes from 98-99 Upper Deck, because 98-99 Upper Deck is the gift that keeps giving. There is so much content to mine within 1998-99 Upper Deck, Series 1 and Series 2. And so for that product, among all the other firsts that it can claim, to be able to also claim that one of its insert sets, the Quantum Golds, is the first commemorative 1-of-1 MJ set is neat. Okay, so here's what we're working with. Every commemorative Michael Jordan set, and here's specifically what that means. The set should have multiple cards. They should be only Michael Jordan. They should be commemorating Michael Jordan's career or legacy, and they must be numbered 1-of-1. There are 13 sets that match this criteria, and I'm going to show you a picture of a card from each. So this is the one we just got done talking about. There is only one commemorative 1 of 1 MJ set from 98-99. That is the Quantum Gold 1 of 1s from 98-99 Upper Deck Flagship. Once we get to 1999-2000, we get 9 of the 13 commemorative MJ sets. And that makes sense. There was Upper Deck, got the exclusive right to make Michael Jordan cards once his active career ended. So they wanted to make sure they made enough Michael Jordan cards to support the market because nobody else could make them anymore. And so their approach to that was to make these 9 MJ only 1 of 1 commemorative sets, or that was part of their approach anyway. And so of the 13, 9 come from 1999-2000. All right. So 1999-2000 was this proliferation of Michael Jordan 1 of 1s. And in about not quite half of the total NBA licensed Michael Jordan 1 of 1s actually come from 99-2000. So it's a very rich season for Michael Jordan 1 of 1 harvesting. I don't know why I used that verb, but mining for Michael Jordan 1 of 1s. 1999-2000 is a great place to start. There's a lot of amazing ones to choose from in there. And so here we'll go through the 9. First is the Athlete of the Century Platinum 1 of 1s. That's a 90-card base set. 90-card commemorative base set. And that's how illustrious Jordan's career is, and that's how much demand there was then for his cards, that you could make a base set of nothing but 90 Michael Jordan cards commemorating different parts of his career. I have 4 of the Platinum 1 of 1s from those 90. And they are, in many ways, the bottom of the barrel for Michael Jordan 1 of 1 collecting, which is a great barrel to be at the bottom of, in my opinion. But because there's 90, that sort of seems to sort of make them feel like they are the most accessible of any Michael Jordan 1 of 1s. But it's also a set that like many of these Jordan 1 of 1s, it's something that nobody's ever really sat down and studied too carefully. Another set, the second commemorative set of Michael Jordan from 1999-2000, the 20 Air of Greatness Michael Jordan 1 of 1s from 1999-2000 Upper Deck Flagship base set. There are 20 cards in this subset. They all are designed and have the theme Air of Greatness, and it lives inside 1999-2000 Upper Deck. I have 1 card from this set, card number 141, Air of Greatness, Gold 1 of 1 Michael Jordan. Here is the third. It is from 1999-2000 Upper Deck Legends. NBA Legends is the product. It often gets misclassified on certs and on checklist websites. And there is a 10-card subset in that base set called The Best. And they are really sharp designs. And here is one of them from that 10-card MJ only commemorative subset called The Best. Card number 88. I do not own any of the bests yet. Here is the fourth of the 9. This is the Cool Air Gold 1 of 1s. It is an 8-card MJ only insert set from 98-99 Upper Deck. Love the way those look. I think those look sick. They're die cut. They have this really cool blue cloud theme. They're shiny. They are special. I really, really like those. The fifth of the 9 would be the Higher Power Gold 1 of 1s, also from 1998-99 Upper Deck Flagship. Do have 3 of these. Have talked about them in a previous issue. And the comments that I got the most when I've sort of shared these is that they look like an ultra modern card. They look like something maybe that you would see in Select or something. That sort of, they have these neat die cuts, really sleek use of a black reflective design. The Upper Deck logo is in platinum hall foil, which is always a really nice touch. This is a 12-card MJ only commemorative set, Higher Power. I really like the name Higher Power too. I think that I really like those. I have 3 of those. Up next, the 7th of the 9, the Final Floor Autograph 1 of 1s. This is a 12-card MJ only set, and these are just stunning. The Final Floor MJ 1 of 1s. They I'm pretty sure they contain a piece of each of them contains as a memorabilia piece his Final Floor from presumably Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals. And then on that piece of wood, he has autographed it. and there's been a photo, an action shot of him attached, and then you have the nice little Upper Deck logo etched into it, a 1-of-1 insignia etched into it, and it's commemorating different things that Jordan achieved. Like this one's 45 total points. There are 12 of those. These are maybe the best known Michael Jordan commemorative set, are these Final Floor 1-of-1 autographs from 1999-2000. The 8th of the 9, this is maybe the least known of any of the commemorative Michael Jordan sets. These are the Upper Deck Black Diamond Gallery Gold 1-of-1s of Michael Jordan. There are 10 of these. There is not a single public sale of one of these that I could find. So I had to go over to Stanley's page. Of course, Stanley has multiple. What doesn't he have? He has multiple of these. And I grabbed this picture of one of his from his Instagram account. And this is a 10-card commemorative MJ 1-of-1 set. It belongs to Upper Deck Black Diamond, that product. And these are shiny. I got to see them in hand. I'm pretty sure he showed me them in hand when we met up. They're really, really pretty, beautiful, just hollow foil gold. Incredible shine on those. And then finally, the 9th of the 9 commemorative sets of MJ from 1999-2000 are the Master Collection 1-of-a-kind 1-of-1s. There's 23 of these, and we've talked about them at length on a previous episode. I have two of those 23. All right. So now we've talked about the bulk of them. We've talked about and shown an image of 10 of the 13 of the commemorative MJ 1-of-1 sets. Remember, the first one is the Quantum Gold 1-of-1s from 98-99, and then we got 9 from 1999-2000. Now let's run through the last, I guess the last 4 of them here. I may have committed a mathematical mistake here. So it appears actually there may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I see what the error that I made is. There are, in fact, 13 commemorative sets, but there's only 9 from, there's 1 in 98-99. There's 8 in 1999-2000. That's where my mistake was. I was rattling it off as if there was 9 from 1999-2000, actually only 8. My apologies. Still working on remedial math over here. Okay, so we've covered 9 of the 13 so far. Now let's get to the final 4 of the 13. That brings us to 2002-03 UD Authentics Heroes of Basketball 1-of-1 autographs. Don't own any of these. Hadn't thought about these very much at all until right now for the researching for this project. And these are cool. So these show Jordan in a Wizards uniform, which will be possibly a turnoff to some people. But 2002-03 is indisputably a season during which Michael Jordan was an active rostered NBA player. Shows him in a Wizards uniform. So these are plain days 1-of-1 Wizards Michael Jordan on-card autographs. There are 10. This set has 10 different heroes. It's a themed Heroes of Basketball autograph 1-of-1s. There are 10 different ones of Michael Jordan. The design is very retro. It's very simple. I don't think it has really any shine on it. It appears to be paper. But these are neat. And there was a very limited sales history of these, but I was able to find an image of a sale from one from 9 years ago. And that's what I'm showing on the screen. So those were really neat. I would love to get one of those. Those are quite special. So that is the 9th of the 13. Or I'm sorry, the 10th of the 13. That's the 10th of the 13. Now let's get to the 11th of the 13, which is 2000. Now we have to jump to 2005-06. So 05-06 produced a Michael Jordan only set that actually has 45 different insert cards in it. They have sticker autographs, and they are themed Rookie of the Year 1984-85. So they all carry that theme. There's 45 of them. The name of the set is the Rookie of the Year 1984-85 autograph 1-of-1s. They have the really sleek, beautiful 1-of-1 stamp that I love. And they've got a Michael Jordan signature on a sticker that's been applied to them. There's 45. Nice Jordan in his Bulls uniform. This is a post-final retirement, obviously, being 05-06. And those, just honestly, they're not at the top of my list for what I would be pursuing. So that's just my taste. But they, hard to go wrong with a Michael Jordan 1-of-1 from his NBA license catalog. Then the penultimate Michael Jordan commemorative 1-of-1 set that we'll discuss is the 2006-07 Jordan's Greatest Moments autograph 1-of-1s. Again, it is a sticker autograph. This is from 06-07 Fleer and Michael Jordan's Greatest Moments. And so Fleer, its IP was acquired by Upper Deck in the early 2000s. And that's how Upper Deck, that's how you get a Fleer Michael Jordan 1-of-1 NBA licensed after Michael Jordan's retirement, is because Upper Deck acquired Fleer's IP. And then the final Michael Jordan commemorative 1-of-1 set. Oh, and by the way, there are 10 of the Jordan's Greatest Moments autograph 1-of-1s from Fleer. There are 10 of those. The final is from 2007-08 Jordan Chronicles autograph 1-of-1s. Again, following that same formula, there is a sticker autograph of Jordan, and it chronicles Jordan 80-45 to 2002-03. I've got there are 20 total in this set. I'm showing one of them here, celebrating his Rookie of the Year trophy. So you'll see that the final 3 issues are just sort of Jordan, Bulls uniform, iconic photos, sticker autograph. We can sort of almost imagine maybe Jordan was, done signing at that point or something. But so he's just here. We'll crank out some stickers, and you can crank out these sets of me. So that's a recap. That is a recap of the 13 total commemorative Michael Jordan 1-of-1 sets. And so the commemorative sets that we've listed here make up about half of a little bit, maybe even a little bit more than half of the Michael Jordan total NBA licensed 1-of-1 offering. So they are a significant portion. And they, each one comes with a different story to tell, I'm sure. I've dug into the story on several of them, especially the early ones. The thing that's great about the early ones is that they're inevitably the first of something, and they're inevitably just very they're like avocados. Avocados are very dense in nutrients. They're just nutrient rich, and that's how these are. These are the avocados of the Michael Jordan 1-of-1s, because they're dense with stories that can be told and significance that just lives within, that's compacted in there, just waiting to be discovered. So cool little walk through Michael Jordan's commemorative 1-of-1 sets, and sort of it's neat. It's special that the Quantum Gold 1-of-1s are the first in that whole lineage, right? And you can sort of see as I walk through why in my caption I decided to, when I was noting the other commemorative 1-of-1 sets, that the one that I called attention to was the Final Floor autograph 1-of-1s, because that's probably the most well known among any of these. And it's cool that the Quantum Gold sort of was the precursor to that. Okay, so we're going to wrap things up here with 2 quick final segments. The first is going to be a little bit of market talk, which we like to do here from time to time. And this is a little research I did that was inspired by listening to a podcast from Cage. So Cage, the Hobby with Cage episode 254 is titled "A Buying Opportunity?" ? And he actually points out, I think, this is me quoting Cage, I think seasonality is something you have to think about when you're in this space. In the last couple of years, I'll tell you that the months coming up now are buying months. So Cage is sort of referring to October, November, December, the forthcoming months, as being months where prices retreat and there might be opportunity there. And I wanted to use one way of approaching this topic, which is to look at the Card Ladder 50 index, which represents or is comprised of 50 very well-known popular cards and liquid, frequently transacted grades. So this index is not going to capture everything about the sports card market, but it is capturing something. It's capturing the pricing movements for these particular 50 cards. And so looking at it, what the price movement has been here on that Card Ladder 50 index over the last 10 years, I zoomed in specifically on Q4 being October, November, and December of every year. What is the price movement for the Card Ladder 50 index? And so what I specifically measured was what was the value of the index on October 1st, what was the value of the index on January 1st, and how much did it change? And so let's walk through quickly the historical result here. In 2016, down 7%. On Q4, the CL50 down 7%. In 2017, down 3%. 2018, down 5%. 2019, down 1%. 2020, up 24%. 2021 down 3%, 2022 down 8%, 2023 down 3%, 2024 down 2%. And then we'll see what happens here in 2025. So you have 2020 as this big outlier. 2020 was like stuff went up during Q4 of 2020. And that sort of makes sense because seasonality was completely thrown out of whack. In 2020, the sports seasons, were all delayed, and basketball didn't even start until August or September. We were playing an NBA championship in October, I think, of that year, November. That was 2020 was just seasonality went out the window in 2020. That's everything sort of shifted around. It was just everybody was at home, and so I can sort of explain, I think, why 2020 might have been weird. And also there was just this crazy momentum for the sports card collecting that was building up in 2020. But other than 2020, we see a pretty consistent trend there of down 5%, down 3%, down 8%. That happens in Q4. So there's reason to expect that is 2025 actually going to buck the trend? Maybe, but there's probably reason to expect that the prices will come down a bit over the coming 2.5 months here, leading up to January 1st. Now, a subtle point I actually noticed when I was looking at this that that usually the market truly bottoms in early to mid-December. And by the time it's January 1st, the market had already sort of started picking up again. So I looked at Q4 just to keep things clean and simple. But truly, the trough happens sometime in early to mid-December, maybe first week, maybe the second week of December. And then by the time we're in the third and the fourth week of December, the CL50 had already started picking back up again. So there's a little bit of market talk, maybe a little bit of level setting, expectation setting for what the market will look like in the coming months. And we'll see if we buck that trend. And the final thing I wanted to talk about, the fourth and final topic, I said there will be a little bit of NBA talk. Here it is. The NBA issued its annual GM survey. And one of the questions that they asked the GMs, who will win the 2025-26 Kia MVP, who will win the forthcoming MVP this season? Nikola Jokic got 67% of that vote. Second was Luka with 10, and then third was Shai Gilgeous with 8. And among many things I interpreted into that, I don't know how familiar the GMs are with sort of like what do they think? When this question is asked of them, what are they answering? Because Jokic now is entering his age 30 season, and traditionally MVPs are awarded to players in between their age 24 and age 28 season, roughly. Hat tip to Brandon Anderson, who makes that point and has done that research when he discusses this on the Buckets podcast, which I'm a big fan of. But so I don't know if the GMs are factoring that in, if they're even aware that Jokic is now entering his age 30 season. That's usually not the age. If players sort of reach that point, MVPs start getting awarded to younger players. But Jokic may be an exception. There definitely have been MVPs given to guys deep into their 30s. Karl Malone got an MVP in his 30s. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got MVPs in his 30s. Michael Jordan got MVPs in his 30s. But the more recent trend is to give it to younger players. But of course, Jokic sort of bucks all trends just because he has had 5 straight seasons where he has been regarded as the best player, whether that's a media consensus, whether that's a reliance on catch-all metrics, whether it's a combination of both. And he's also last year was the first year that he didn't win an MVP in 5 years. So 2021 was regular season MVP, 2022 was regular season MVP, 2023 is finals MVP, 2024 was regular season MVP. So he had a run of 4 straight MVPs. No player had ever done that before. In 2025, that was the first time that he didn't get an MVP in 5 years. But here they are saying that they're giving him their overwhelming vote of confidence that he will be the MVP this year. Found that interesting. And then I wanted to go back and look at other GM survey predictions and sort of see how they did. So for 2025, they predicted SGA would be MVP, and he was. For 2024, they predicted Jokic would be MVP, and he was. 2023, they predicted Luka. That was wrong. 2022, they predicted Kevin Durant. That was wrong. 2021, they predicted Giannis. Wrong. In 2020, they predicted Giannis. Correct. 2019, they predicted LeBron wrong. 2018, they predicted LeBron wrong. 2017, they predicted LeBron wrong. They actually predicted LeBron for 16, 15, and 14 too, all wrong. So from 14 through 19, 6 seasons, they predicted that LeBron would be MVP, and they were wrong for each of them. 2013, they also predicted LeBron would be MVP, but they were right there. For 2011 and 2012, they predicted KD would be MVP for both those seasons, both wrong. And then for 2010, 09, 08, and 07, they predicted LeBron would be MVP. They got it right twice of those 4. So in total, I just recapped, I guess, 19 seasons. Yeah, I recapped 19 seasons there, and they were correct in 6 of them. So it's not a great predictive track record, but they have been accurate in the previous 2. So we'll see how that shakes out. All right, that's going to do it for today's HOJ-Cast. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll probably see you for another one in maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks.